Welcome to the channel. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Join me today for the full review on the Pagani Design PD1682 aka Explorer 2 GMT Homage. I unboxed this watch a few weeks ago on the channel, and this is one of the new releases from Pagani Design, and you guys probably do know that Pagani Design are absolutely on fire at the moment. They've come out with so many new releases, and now it's time for me to follow up with one of the unboxings and give you the full review and my full thoughts on this really good watch. Actually, I'm very impressed with this watch. I can give you a bit of an intro, and I think this is probably going to be one of my favorite Pagani Design watches. It just works and it just looks brilliant as well. So let's go into the review. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to talk about with this watch is, of course, the specifications, dimensions, and any information around that. So Pagani Design model number PD1682. We already know what it is, homaging. Now let's talk about some of the specifications. So the watch has got a full 316L stainless steel case construction, bezel, crown, and of course the bracelet. The watch has a fixed 24-hour GMT style bezel, and it also has a sapphire crystal with no AR coating, including a magnification glass. Now, I'm not too sure about the strength of the magnification, but if I were to hazard a guess, looking at that data window, I'd say it's at least maybe 2.5, but I could be wrong. Now, the watch, as you can see, it has an active GMT hour hand, and this movement that is in the watch is the DG, or as Pagani say, the Pearl DG5833 GMT movement. I will talk about the movement just after I got a little segment on that, because these movements are quite confusing from China. So dimensions, let's have a look. You got a 42mm case diameter, a thickness of 12.7. So I do like how thick or thin the watch is. And you have a lug to lug of 50mm. You have a lug width of 20mm between the lugs, and you have an overall weight with the full bracelet at 176 grams. Now, of course, as you can see in front of you, this is the white dial version. They also do a black dial version. I went with the white because I think it just looks a lot better. It's a lot brighter, of course, being white. I think the colors, everything just stands out more to me on this watch. So the watch I am wearing on my wrist for today is my Seiko Baby Tuna or Shrouded Monster, whichever nickname you want to give it. And this is the frost dial version. I can't seem to take these Baby Tunas off. I'll be honest, I've always within arm's reach. I've either got the yellowfin or I've either got this. But anyway, back to the review at hand. So let's start off with, of course, Pagani Design. Yes, great new models, great start to the new year for these guys. Now, one thing that people have mentioned is about the pictures on the AliExpress store. A lot of pictures, not only this model, a lot of models, Pagani do actually take pictures or use macro shots from actual Rolex watches, and they blur out obviously where it make it obvious, and then they put their own dials in on different pictures. Yeah, it's China, guys. You know what, from a young age, and this is, I think, the reputation that follows China. I always was told, when it comes to products, especially homages, let's say, or reps or whatever, don't trust the information you have. Personally, I know what I say on the reviews. I say, for example, the water resistance rating on this watch is 100 meters. Personally, I don't believe that. I don't think it is. I think it's just written on the dial, and you gotta take it as that. I don't think you should treat them as this is exactly what it's gonna be like. But having said that, a lot of brands do actually use their own pictures. So, you know, bit of a shame from Pagani's side. They really should use their own pictures, because on that side, and I did say that in the first impressions, I think the finishing looks absolutely fine on this. But anyway, let's get back to what we're talking about. So let's talk about the dial. So the dial here, you've got a plain white dial. It isn't matte effect. It seems to be some sort of vinyl effect dial, which you can kind of see this really solid white, which is good. And then you've got text at the 12 and at the 6. 12 o'clock, you've got the Pagani Design logo, like on all Pagani Design watches. And at the 6, you've got GMT in orange, automatic water resistance, 10 bar / 100 meters. And you've also got a printed minute track that goes around the whole dial. You've also got a date window at the 3 o'clock, sorry, with a magnification glass on the sapphire crystal. And you've got these applied triangular, baton, and circular hour markers, as you can see here, a sort of a Submariner style dial, which, you know, it is the same across quite a lot of models. Now, in regards to quality, I'd say the printing, the application is very clear. It's very crisp. What I do like is that orange hour. What I do like is that orange GMT hour hand. I like how that matches that orange GMT text. Of course, we know it's a homage, but it just makes it pop. The minute and the hour hand are these black PVD coated Mercedes style hands, and same with the second hand. So in terms of the, you know, aesthetics, the visual quality, it's there. I think it's absolutely fine. I can't find a single flaw with it. Okay, moving on to the bezel. Now it's a fixed bezel because it is a GMT watch. And what I can say is, with the finishing, I will put some pictures of the dial and, you know, the bezel, etc. as I talk through this, is brilliant. I don't see any flaws with it. The watch is fully brushed, just how I like it. You do have this polished rim or polished lip that goes around the bezel, which has been done exceptionally well. Now, for the most part, Pagani do have really good finishing, and that finishing goes across to the crown guards, little crown with the Pagani logo. I've left the blue film on. I know that annoys people, but whatever, it's on. And just looking at the lugs, just looking at the brushing across the whole bezel, now they all meet up really well. Now, I have to say, my most favorite Paganis are Paganis like this. Also, the Datejust homage. It's because the fact that it is missing that bezel. Everything else I think Pagani do really well, including taking cost into consideration. I'm just looking at this mirror-like polishing on the side of the case. Brushed lugs. Linear brushing. Again, polishing. Clean transitions. Clean finishing. Just look at that brushing. It isn't too coarse at all as well. And look at that filling in here with the enamel on the numbers here. Very clean. And a very good example. And the quality is there as well. The quality control so far seems great. So credit where credit is due. Yes, they're a very budget watch, but I think there are some things which they do really, really well. As expected, nothing really special going on in the Lume department. Now this is without any UV rays, just with the LED lighting in the room, as I always like to do. But yeah, you can see nothing really going on. So let's give it a boost. Let's see if that makes anything better. So as you'd expect, with the UV light being used on the dial and the hands, yes, it is going to illuminate really well. But I think the layering is really, really poor on the dial. It's actually struggling to achieve any kind of brightness. The hands are okay for the most part, including the GMT, our hand. But you know, it is what it is with Pagani. We've learned to accept this now. So I'll save any of the comments when I summarize. So as expected, kind of poor Lume, but it is what it is. Let's have a look at the case back. We've seen the case, exhibition case back with some specifications on there. Pagani Design 100 meters of water resistance, stainless steel, and also in very, very small writing, you can see the actual model number here, PD1682, and you've also got a signed rotor. So fair play from Pagani for signing the rotor on the DG5833 movement. Okay, so now we've touched on the movement. Let's go ahead and have a look at the movement. So this segment is especially for it. I mean, I didn't really understand what these movements were. So every time I get them, I do really want to go and sort of research as much as I can about what this movement is. So first, let's look at the functionality that you get with the movement. So it does hand wind, which is good. Okay, pull the crown out once. Now, if you turn it clockwise, you can actually use the GMT hand. Now, a thing with the GMT hand is the fact that when you do close it, it jumps, right? But now to get that accurate, all you have to do is, if you want to set the GMT hour hand to 12, just literally set it 1 minute marker before, and there we go. It's going to go to the 12. If you want it exact, then of course just use what you saw, just kind of mess around with it till you get it exact. Obviously it isn't ideal, but then again, that shows this movement isn't really made to be a GMT movement. There we go. Just click it again, and here we go. That's right. Okay, so if you turn it anti-clockwise, no, that was anti-clockwise, sorry. Yeah, if you turn it clockwise, it does change the date. Okay, now if you pull the crown out again, 2 clicks, it does hack the actual movement, allows you to change the time, and then the GMT hand will of course follow up. Okay, now in terms of the movement, the beat rate is 21,600 vibrations per hour, which gives you a tick of 6 ticks a second. And what other information could I find out? Well, I went online, and I think this is meant to be a ETA clone, but the ETAs, as you know, are high beats, so maybe it's a low beat ETA clone. And of course the movement isn't that expensive. It's made by the Chinese manufacturer Mingzhu, and you know, these movements are very popular. They're in fact all the Pagani and the Panis GMT you know, Submariner homages that have come out, and for the most part they are reasonably reliable. And of course, as you saw, the GMT function isn't how it should be, but you know, can you really expect that? No, you can't. Now there's some text, there's some information online about this one in particular. Pagani say it's the DG5833. In fact, it isn't. It actually is the DG3804. The 5833 is just they've changed the name for whatever reason. And apparently this is meant to be a clone of the ETA 2893, but again, it's not a high beat and it doesn't function the same in terms of the GMT. What I think it is, I think this is a low beat ETA clone from the 2823, and then all they've done is just basically modified it to add the GMT, which is why it works like this. Now China have done that with a couple of other movements as well. A couple of ETA clones, they've just modified them and put on a GMT function. So there we have it on the movement. Now let's talk about the reliability of it. So I put it through the time grapher. I'll put up the pictures here. I tested it across 4 different positions, and you can just see what they read at. So I think crown up, it was -10, crown down -27, crown up, dial up -10, and dial up, crown up -17, and dial down was -12. So the watch stayed in the minus, and the B error fluctuated from 0.1 to highest 0.6. So on average, the B error was 0.3, which is reasonable. And then the amplitude was okay throughout the whole test, and the accuracy averaged at -16 seconds a day, which I think is perfectly acceptable for this kind of movement. Or I mean, even NH35s are rated to that, but they do run a lot better than that. I think the thing with the movements is, and I think one of the key points in how good a movement is how it fluctuates between the different motions and the different positions. Now, some movements are very tight and they maintain a tight tolerance between all 4 or 6 different positions. Whereas movements like this, and I've seen that in NH35 as well, that between movements they do fluctuate quite a bit, but all still within the specification. So that's me on the movement on the watch. Just to quickly summarize, it's a good movement, it is reliable. The GMT isn't the best, but it can be used as a GMT. Okay, so let's have a look at now the bracelet. So this is a solid end link bracelet, solid link with screw-in links. Let's get a closer look. Okay, camera says no. Okay, screw-in links, a milled clasp. So it's a different style of milled clasp, and of course they've changed. Pagani have changed their clasp now. They're not using the standard Rolex style clasp they were using. I actually like these clasps. They feel a bit better. They honestly do. Spring pushers. You've got 3 micro adjusts, and they also come with a working wetsuit extension. Not that you can take it too far down underwater. So you got Pagani Design engraved here across the clasp. Now they have got some funniness here on the links. So if you look at the first link, screw in, but there's a hole there. Same thing here, screw in with a hole. But then on this side of the links, you got push pins, split pins here. But then the rest of the screw-in links fully closed off, and the bracelet is fully brushed on every angle. So great improvement on the bracelet from Pagani, and I'd say this is one of my most favorite Paganis. I'll be honest, it just looks and feels nice. It feels heavy as well in your hand, and it is nicely finished. All that remains is a wrist shot and a summary. Let's put you down there. So here's the watch on my 6.5 inch wrist. It's worth mentioning also the bracelet does have quite a nice taper. It goes down from 20mm down to 18mm at the clasp. This isn't sized, I just can't be bothered, and this is what it looks like on the wrist. 50mm lug to lug, slightly long, and a 42mm diameter. I think I do like the thickness as well. It's only around 12.5mm, which is good. Good fit, I'd say a good presence, and especially with this white and orange color combination, definitely does stand out. The bracelet is comfortable for the most part, and the case is very comfortable as well. So let's take it off. Let's do a quick summary. So of course we know what I don't like about the watch is going to be the actual lume on the dial. Very poor, and you know, it's been how long since Pagani have been making watches. They have not addressed the lume issue at all, but they have increased the price on these new models. Is it worth it? Well, so far I've not seen anything significantly different to justify that extra bit of cash that they want from us. Let's talk about it. Case in point, I did a kind of partial review. I just started it on the new Pagani PD1681, the Submariner, the 2021 Homage, and the bezel was a lot better. They had improved the bezel, but the price was still the same as the old one. So if they can make that better and not increase the price, what are we really paying for? I personally think they just put the price up. They're not really giving us anything extra. What they have changed, I think they've slightly made the bracelets a bit better. The clasp is definitely better. I think they should probably stick with this type of clasp. I think those clasps that they had previously were just a bit too sharp, you know, and this clasp is a lot better. There is still a bit of sharpness underneath here, but these are things that you don't really touch and feel. But the bracelet, you know, I'm happy with the way the bracelet is. I'm happy with the finish. It has the usual edginess on the sides that you find on all Chinese brands. You know, San Martin is included as well. So, but it isn't sharp. The case has been finished well. Again, no sharpness, great brushing. Yeah, and you know what I like, everything else. So the fact that it's a fixed bezel is really nice. I think it's a very good sporty casual watch. 6.5 inch wrist, you know, I'd wear it. It fits me fine. But really about 7.5 inches because of that 50mm lug width that lug length, it'll look just fine. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section as always, of course. Check out the links for this watch and the new Pagani releases within the description, and make sure you have subscribed, and I'll see you guys on the next video.